Okay. Okay. Well, is it 4:30? Yep. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. It's 4:30. Roll call, please, Brenda.
Abendroth. Cassava,
Here.
Crosby,
Here.
Fairchild,
Here.
LePage,
Here.
Mandeville,
Here.
Roland,
Here.
Shack,
Here.
and Valencourt.
Here. Oh. This is good.
And request to be excused or received from Kip Thompson, and nobody's absent, not excused, and we have a quorum.
Awesome, awesome. We have oath of officers and appointments. Hey, Lonnie, I'll come over there to you. Are you?
Nope.
You want me to
You
come?
go
I
right
do it.
ahead.
I'll-
Yeah.
Give me the dog off. You want me to stand up? No, you're fine. You're fine. Stay right there.
Let me get out my pen,
Michael.
and let's get a holding one. Sorry about that. I didn't realize I was gonna have to write stuff
I got
down.
I think I just saw one right there on. No, maybe not. Oh, there's one right there.
There it is. Okay, I knew I'd read it, but I didn't know, okay,
Okay, we gotta say the oath first.
okay.
I, Lonnie Roth Fairchild,
Lonnie Roth Fairchild,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of treasurer
the duties of treasurer
of the Clinton Essex Franklin Library System
of the Clinton Essex County Library System
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Now you may sign. I think there's two. She has to, you have to sign two, I'm sorry.
I have to, okay. Please sign.
Wanna go over it?
Yeah.
Okay. I, Linda Crosby,
Hello.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Secretary
of the Office of Secretary
of the Clinton Essex Franklin Library System
of the Clinton Essex Franklin Library System
in the year 2025, according to the best of my ability.
in the year 2025, according to the best of my ability.
You have to sign both. Connie? Making a circle for Connie. Okay, I, Connie Mandeville,
I, Connie Mandeville,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of member at large of the Clinton Essex Franklin Library System
of member at large of the Clinton Essex Franklin Library System
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
It's a long time coming.
It's only April.
Gee. And I did stop in and do mine earlier, so just so you all know. I stopped in January when I was over there at one point.
I don't think you want me to sign.
Brenda, this was in with those things. Is that something that I needed?
Oh, no, but you can have it if you want.
I'm confused, so no.
You keep it.
Okay. Okay, you got Linda to go over too?
Do you need both of them, Brenda?
Yes. Please.
And we will, we talk about the Jordan LeBlanc trustee position in a few minutes. Um. Okay, you ready, Brim?
I think so,
Okay,
yes.
now we'll go to consent agenda, which is the approval of absences, the approval of the April 28th, 2025 agenda, approval of minutes of the January 27th, 2025 meeting, committees for which there are no reports at this time, advocacy, executive, finance, health plan, negotiating, personnel, and property. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, second,
Mary.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion is passed. Public comment period. Do we have anybody with public comment? Nope. Communications. Go ahead, Brenda.
I have an article in which featured, Steve, and they interviewed him, specifically about the funds that should be allocated to IMLS and how it would affect the libraries and the state and so on and so forth. And the other it was an article in the Malone Telegram, and it featured us in providing the, Canopy streaming video service, which you could use with your regular patron card.
Okay.
So that's
Oh, that's kind of cool.
been out for, I think, a couple of months, right?
Okay.
Actually, it started last year.
Oh.
Back in November, December, late last year.
Cool.
That's it.
Okay,
Who
thank
was the
you.
interview with? The first one you said,
It was.
was that Billy Jones or no?
No, it was, with the Sun Times.
Just a side note there. When I sent it to Michael, and I don't know if I sent it to you too, Michael, but to Steve. It was very interesting because, we're in Florida for an amount of time. And there was an article in our Daytona Beach Journal about how the libraries are suffering over what's happening right now. I mean, so it's not just, I thought it was so interesting because here we are 1,300 miles away, and we're still seeing the effects of what is going on in the world. It just was, when I saved it, but I forgot to bring it today. Okay, president's remarks. Okay, so we have to do if people have not given their donation to the Sun, the Sun, what do we call it?
Sunshine.
The Sunshine Fund, please do so. And then the other one is what's the other one we get to this time?
Campaign, leadership campaign.
Leadership campaign. If you have not, can you send us who has not? You don't need to send it to people that have, but those of us that we have not, would you please send it to remind us? Cause I can't,
Yes.
I did either.
Yeah.
Okay, that was something that we'll talk about later, about our trustees that I'm kind of concerned about. That's all I have, okay? Plattsburgh Public Library Report.
All right, well, thank you to both Anya and Steve for setting up the Zoom call. System-wide, we were able to discuss our concerns about the IMLS cuts. And Meg Backus from Northern New York Library Network joined us as well, and gave us some good tips for things that we could focus on when talking to our elected representative. Big news, administrative wise, staff wise, Sarah Spanberg, our most senior librarian, has been promoted now to assistant library director. So she started actually last Monday, so it should be a pretty easy transition, and we'll work well together as we have for the last 7 or so years. Ally Reset will be promoted to senior library page on May 30th, give her a little bump. And I think this was back in February, but on my report then, our new page, Hannah Canale, who's been over here, probably met all the staff by now, probably been reported. So she's doing great. And our second meeting of our monthly creative writing group, which is an open write for all ages, was on second week of April. Did I really say that? No, second. So it's always the second Wednesday. We have our speaker series the first Wednesday, creative writing group second Wednesday. And we had several attendees and lots of good discussion. So that's being done by, with help from a SUNY Plattsburgh intern named Lex Kelly. Now, been setting that up and running it for me. So I think those are my main ones. Any questions about my report or other questions or?
I'll just mention to the board that Ally Reset is clerk here
Yes.
also.
Okay, nice.
We share her.
Hey.
Great.
You have to walk all the way over here.
Yeah, make her walk all the way over here.
Pretty
It,
good,
it,
yeah.
it's just, you know, thank you for working so hard to keep all our services at what they have to be in these trying times.
Yeah, definitely, sustaining, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
Keep at it,
It's
so.
a good thing we did that sustainable thing.
That's right.
CEFDA report, is there anyone here from CEFDA? I do not believe so. Director's report, Steve?
Report. It was included in the packet. The Cersei Dynex conversion went well. And we're about to dissolve our agreement with NCLS. It becomes effective on April 30th. So, it was a good transition. Weed library variants, we'll talk about that later in the agenda. Annual reports. All of our member libraries have finished filing. The state has come back comments that they wanted to address, they wanted the libraries to address. And all but 2 libraries now have completed that. They've asked for it to be done by April 30th, so we're gonna push those last 2 to get it done.
Yeah.
Regan,
Keith,
Keith
I'll help you, Steve, it's okay.
is the newest member of the staff, and she has worked out very well. On the other hand, Justin Vancouver found greener pastures and left our employee in March. We are in the process of finding a replacement. And Michael and I have discovered how vital Justin was since he left. Anyway, we are looking for that.
And he was only part-time, right, Steve?
No, he was full.
He was full, oh yeah, that's right, he was
Yeah.
full-time. All right.
Okay, we finished union negotiations. We'll talk about that later in today's agenda. And the continuing education opportunities are listed there. I bring your attention to April 30th session for the trustee handbook book club is board development, recruitment, orientation, education, and evaluation.
Now that, you don't have a list, but of where we sign on for that?
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at,
You sent us emails.
Something you sent us earlier,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just look,
I'm pretty sure
thank
you
you.
did.
I can send it to you.
Okay. If I can't find it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Our first board basics meeting about board meetings went really well. At least until the last 10 minutes when my brain decided to jump the tracks and. So we ended a little bit of a puff. But the rest, there was good response, good questions. I think people learned some things about board meetings. And that's my report. If anyone has any comments or questions, I'd be glad to address them.
I just was wondering, I noticed that you're advertising for a librarian one, is that?
That's us, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that would actually be,
Oh, that's right.
to fill the
Yes, yeah.
position of the person who promoted.
Right. I sometimes put you guys together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. We work together.
That's right.
Okay, the financial reports, can we have a motion to accept them and then? Not yet, Sorry, Michael, sorry.
There are no financial reports as of this time. There has been quite a few reasons why. Member library annual reports, I'm working on our, annual report. There was, with, Justin leaving, that's put me a little behind. And also I had, I took some medical leave this month and that also put me a little farther behind than so I am working very diligently. In getting everything up to date. I just put in over $90,000 worth of payables, so that's taken me a little while, but I'm really positive that next month I will have everything up to date.
I'm sure you will. You worked hard. We were behind for a while. You've caught us all up. I'm sure you will do it again.
Thank you for understanding.
Life
Um,
happens.
I do have some good news.
Oh, what is
Because
it?
I don't think we've talked about it. The IRS with the earned retention credit, we got most of it.
Oh,
There's 2 quarters they're still discussing or something, because it says that it's in motion, but nothing, but we did get almost, I think what? Either a little over, or a little under 200,000
I know
and we
that's-
paid the person, that did that. But I was really happy about that. Now we can really start looking for a replacement vehicle for the van. The van is really needing
Lost
some
two
help.
months.
And we need to do that relatively quickly, I think, before everything goes even crazier than it is right now.
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of money into that van.
When it gets to that point,
Yeah,
it,
it's over 200,000 miles.
something has to happen, so.
Is it 10 years old? Well,
No, it's 7.
But
We
that's,
got it was
lot of
18,
miles.
2018.
but the mileage on it, it's on the road all the,
Yeah, we put over 700 to 800 miles a week.
Yeah.
On the van.
What's the story? Are prices for new cars going up rapidly? Or has that been slowed down?
not right now, I don't think, but we don't know what's gonna happen. In
Next
my
week?
mind, what's gonna
Okay.
happen tomorrow,
Yeah,
because things change on Twitter.
In the last couple of months, we did price out vans.
At 11 o'clock at night,
You're running about 60,000
for a van. it
for
was
that
to be at
style
least.
of thing. We
It
want to
will be.
replace basically the same thing.
Yep,
That's it.
okay,
Any questions?
stay well.
yeah, that's the important thing, stay well and we know you'll catch up.
Thank you.
We're trying not to put him back in the hospital.
Please don't, I didn't even know all that happened, how come you didn't let me know that, cause I'm good at praying, if people tell me who I need to pray for, I'm good at that. Okay, committee reports, nominating committee. Okay, we have a couple things going on with this, and Steve texted me earlier because Jordan is not going to join us. He sent me this earlier. I wanted to reach out to share that given a few personal and family matters, along with my inability to attend the April 28th meeting, I've been questioning whether I'm able to be the kind of asset to the board that I'd hoped to be when first appointed. With the meeting cancellation not yet having been officially sworn in, I realized my involvement has been limited, and that's added to my concern that now may not be the right time for me to serve. That said, I deeply support the mission of the library system. The board still sees value in my service, which of course we do. I'm certainly very open to the conversation, so we'll talk about that in a minute. I know we are in a perilous time for so many of our institutions. The recent federal moves come to the top of mind. I have deep respect for the mission and the work being done. I'm grateful to have been considered to play a part in it. So it sounds like right now he's not joining us. I'd love to follow up with the executive team, but I want to reach out with full transparency, so.
he did send it by email too.
He sent it to everyone?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I got it.
Okay,
don't know if everybody
I
did.
guess I
Yeah.
didn't see the header on top of it, Linda,
Yeah.
didn't me realize who, so we are down quite a few members. Trustees, we have a Clinton seat that's empty. 2 Clinton seats, actually. And then we have 2 Essex seats that are empty. Now Franklin, my issue with Franklin is that we have just a minute, Darlene Hutchins, but we have her on hold at the moment because our bylaws state that it cannot be employee of the library. Granted, she's only a, she's only a sub, but she's still an employee. So I'm not sure what to do with this. Do we want to change our bylaws? Will that open up too much? Or do we want?
I don't think that's a good idea.
No, I don't either, Hope. I just think, to begin with, my first response was, well, that's not a big deal. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, we might be opening a can of worms. So what direction do you want me to go? I was thinking of reaching out to her and asking her if she's just a sub, if she would want, if, and just explain to her, our bylaws state that she cannot be a trustee as an employee. And then say, I'll put the ball in your court, whether you want to just become a volunteer or whatever, and just, what are your thoughts? Just let me know what direction you want me to go. That's kind of.
Yeah, I would say follow the bylaws, and if she can't be, then she can't be unless she chooses to not continue
As an
being a
employee.
sub for,
Right.
where is she a sub?
At the weed.
We,
At the
at we,
library,
oh, yeah, okay, that's right.
And, I mean, I know she was, but I kind
Yeah,
of
that's
agree,
too
I hate to
bad.
play around with bylaws. And we didn't know it until that, I think, Bridget, you might have brought up, or Hope did, about her work, I can't remember who did bring it up the last time. And whatever, no, I think it might have been Anya. It was somebody that was,
Yes,
yes,
you're
I think
right.
it was Anya when we were talking. And, so I will send her a message about that are we all in agreement not to change the bylaws? Okay, so, and then the ball's kind of in her court. If she says she doesn't want to be, I do have another younger person that could possibly do it, so I will reach out to her and see what she's a librarian at one of the schools. And, she's young, but but with the satellite site in Malone, that she could possibly, it'd be easier for her, I think, but we'll see how
Can we go
that.
back and talk about Jordan too? Sorry,
Yes.
did you
I
want?
no, I was just gonna ask, like, and I don't know, maybe it should be me, but is it a concern to anybody that there's a concentration of Franklin County people who are in Malone? Like, all the Franklin County people are Malone people.
You're right.
That doesn't always happen, but it happens to be the situation right now.
And I'm not saying
But
that.
you're
is a
not really,
concern,
she's not really Malone, though, she's North Bangor,
Right, I mean, yeah.
close, 10 miles
Yeah,
away from
yeah, I
Malone.
know.
Central still.
Well.
Yeah, we had Saranac Lake prior to you, Bridget.
Yeah, we did have Saranac
Okay.
Lake, we had two Saranac Lake people,
Yeah.
actually,
Right,
yeah. because
and
we had-
Mary is
yeah.
Saranac.
And and to be perfectly honest, that's where I reach out to,
That's a-
because those are the people I
Absolutely,
know, so
absolutely.
I mean, and that's why basically I was appointed to this. Or asked to be nominating chair was because I knew so many people, and stuff, so, but it certainly is, we've had people mentioned from the other, from the North Franklin or South Franklin, whichever one it is, and anybody has to do at any point as nominating chair, just to send me any interested people that where, anywhere in
Mhm.
Franklin County, so.
I
But you're
sent
right,
you a bunch of names, but I don't think any of them are real likely, but
yeah, I'll look that back up again, Lindy, and see what happens with that. Back to Jordan.
My impression of that email wasn't a hard no, was a like, I don't know, so it depends, I guess, how desperate we are for people. So, like
Well, we have, how many do we have? And he was, what county was he? He was Clinton, and we have 2 Clinton vacancies. So I can also reach back out to him and ask him if,
thought-
go ahead, Hope.
I thought he reached out again though and said it was a no.
Oh,
after this email.
Since the email.
okay, I can look that back up, Hope, and
I
see
mean,
what.
isn't that what Steve said, or somebody said at the beginning that he called somebody or talked to somebody? Did I misinterpret that?
Me, I've just seen the emails.
Let me just reach out to him and I'll say, are you a hard no? Or we would like you to serve, if it is not a hard no, you know, because when Steve texted or emailed me not too long ago, we're having a lot of issues with getting a quorum. And of course, what did I just say? 2, 4, we've got five trustees that are, you know, positions that are not filled. So, you know, that could be part of this problem also. And, you know, yes, Lonnie.
Well, I was just thinking that when, Dorothy reached out to me to join the board, her pitch was, oh, this is a wonderful group of people, and, they do good work, and it's an easy job until you start to get more involved. And I think you could possibly tell Jordan that there is a learning curve, and it might be very helpful for him to join the board and
Sorry.
be on the board for at least, you know, a period, for the rest of the year. And then he can decide how much he wants to commit to it. If we have a vacancy, it might be is it a shorter appointment anyway, or is it the full?
Okay, we have one of the Clinton seats are done in 28, the other one's 27, so it's basically 2 and 3 years.
So he might be quite happy to take the 2-year and see what he's,
One's 29 and one's 28.
oh, okay, well.
So we've got, but still 28, you know,
the
I'll
first
reach out
year
to
is
him and,
there, yeah,
you know, I'll reach out to him and tell him that we had a meeting and we would love to have him join us for as much as he can and see if he's, you know, I'll start it with, is this a hard no? Or would you consider serving at least the rest of this year? And then see, and then from there, he can decide from there.
I agree with Sarah that unless he did call somebody or whatever, I read that email as,
Right,
do you really want me, you know, is it? are you-
because if I can't,
Yeah,
which is
so-
a good quality.
Absolutely.
You know,
I
if
think that's
someone doesn't want to do something because they don't think they can fully commit. I mean, I have utmost respect for someone that will do that instead of somebody that will join something and then,
It
you
was a
know.
thoughtful letter, but I think he was leaning towards no.
Oh, I think probably also, but I'll reach out to him and see, and then that'll tell us where to go from there.
and you can tell him that the support of the library is particularly valuable right now. And he could consider it that way and not have to know how much he can commit at this point.
Right. And we may talk a little bit more about when we get to possible meetings and whatever, that maybe it won't be, you know, quite as demanding either, but we've got that on the agenda later,
I thought we talked about advertising too,
We
or,
did.
Well, we put it on the website, but then,
yeah,
you
on
know,
the website, okay.
I think so, haven't we? Brenda, or we worked on that, whatever.
I don't.
I can't remember.
Where would we
have to
advertise?
look
They're okay, I can make a flyer and I can look at all the libraries.
Okay, we've worked,
Got
get a hold of Brenda,
Yeah.
she's already got one started.
Oh,
And I was supposed to kind of help her with it, but guess what?
Okay,
I've kind of fallen
I
away.
think-
Go ahead, Hope, I'm sorry.
I have reservations about advertising, but maybe that's just me, because how are you advertising for a trustee position that has to be legislator appointed, and you're putting it there to,
In the advertisement,
excuse me?
I think that could be made clear in the advertisement.
Well,
Subject
yeah,
to Franklin County Board of Legislators approval. You know, of some kind, but I know what you mean, it's a little,
It's,
Oh,
you're
you
putting
know.
that out for anybody and everybody, and I think that's
yeah.
a risky business.
Well, and you know, we all know that, just a minute, we all know that word of mouth and whatever, and people know is really the best way. But we might be, as Steve emailed me the other day, we're kind of at a critical point.
yeah, and if the well is running dry, I think there's benefit to putting it out there, because otherwise it just is a self, like it's my friend and your friend, and we're not including anyone else.
At
But
least
if it goes,
at least a flyer to the member librarian.
yes,
Member libraries, and they can maybe.
Yes.
Garner some people from their specific.
That's a good
area
idea, yeah.
yeah.
That they
Not
know have
as
been
a-
supportive of the library, but they're not on the board there, or.
Right.
Not as a blank, you know, put it on our
Right,
website.
right.
and So you're getting the people that would go to that website to begin with. And, you know, not just a blank, you know.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I like that.
Yeah. Lonnie,
I remember a previous trustees book club about, recruitment, and they suggested that people actually put out notices that would give it a clear description of what was involved, that if you are interested in being more involved in the library system, talk to so and find out what the possibilities are, and that would promote inclusion of people who might not think that they could do it on the board, but who might contribute a lot because they know other parts of the community that we might
that's not a
not.
bad
And
idea.
we don't have to sound desperate, even though we are. We could just say, are you sincerely interested in promoting,
Well,
the libraries in your system? And, it could be a positive.
Brenda has one started, and I
We
think
need
if
to.
you two get together, send her what you've got. And then, because I did drop the ball, Alan, I'm sorry. I mean, I have to be honest, I did.
I think we did
We
talk
still
about
want
it
you
in one
to
of
be
the last
board
meetings.
president.
Huh?
We still want you to be board president.
So you aren't gonna chastise me too much, okay,
Justin Van Coor's wife has expressed interest in a board seat.
okay, and she's what, Clinton?
Yeah,
Okay, just have her send me a resume and then we can bring it up the next meeting, that's all she was.
okay.
Or do you want to send me her email and then I will do that? I will
That
contact.
probably be best.
Okay, so just send me her email and then I will, cause that's kind of what I do.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's good. We just, the problem is we haven't really talked to each other in enough time to really talk about all these issues that are going on.
I have somebody I'll recommend for Clinton County too.
Okay, thank you. Yep, okay. Okay, unfinished business, board meeting changes, times, dates, discussion. We've had this several times. I think it's time to really hit it head on and see what we're gonna do. Right now, we have how many we have 10 meetings, right?
Yes,
Steve and Michael, as knowing what you need to keep this organization going and what you need from we trustees, how many do you think you need to have?
When I was looking at it, I could see us with 9 meetings and having one of the late summer months. By,
So in the summer months where we had trouble this year getting of course, we were doing visitations too, so that kind of put a bummer on that. So you think we could do 9? And then eliminate one of the summer ones? Okay. What do we think?
we've got to make sure that, we hold all 9.
Yes. My concern is that I know that sometimes Michael and Steve have stuff that has to be signed and has to be, and that, I think they have to dictate what we have to do, because if they can't function, if you can't function without us meeting, then that's not good. Yes,
So my question was on that specifically. I still don't have a perfect sense of when are likely to be the deadlines that actually require board approval. Because I see things that are on our agendas that aren't necessarily approvals, so we can operate. And it might be wise to pick those 9 meetings that they fit the flow of business for the board. Now, I realize that can very well change as the state changes and as government pressures change, but
we can, because it follows open meetings, you can't really call one without, without having to publish.
no, but I know that there are times when certain budgetary things tend to come up, when certain contracts tend to have to be approved, when all of this happens, and there may be ways also that for small financial approvals, there may be a way to, I'm wondering if there would be a way to give some authority to the staff or to the exec committee so that those could be carried out without naturally the long discussion of policy.
We'd have to check bylaws for that, I think, don't you?
The
Or is it
executive committee can be charged with approving certain things. And then they have that authority to do it when they would meet.
So what would we have to do to make that happen? I mean, do we have to change any bylaws, anything
That comes from the bylaws.
that does? Okay, so we need to look at the bylaws for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so, let me just write myself a note. How do people feel? Should we just try this year to go with the 9? I'm just throwing this out there.
I mean, that's we ended up doing less than that last year, didn't we?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
We're gonna get quorum during the week, during the summer, so,
That would seem to me be the time to try.
yeah.
And maybe this year we won't do any this is just off the top of my head. Won't do any visitations, even though I think it's very important for us to do that. But until we get a sense of to our being able to work, maybe this year we should maybe not do visitation.
And I actually think that March is not a bad time to have a meeting, if you're gonna eliminate, if you wanna eliminate one in the summer. Unless Easter, happens to be interfering with that, but. I don't go anywhere in March usually.
Well, I think that, to be honest with you, I think what probably happened with the March, Linda, is that a lot of people, that was when your snowbirds went away. I'm pretty sure that's probably what started
Oh,
the
yeah,
March.
that's
because
true.
A
You
lot of
wouldn't be
people go
here.
January, February,
Yeah, so
March.
you would,
are the
you
snowbird
wouldn't be here
months.
for a March and an April meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
so do we want a motion to go to 9 meetings this year? And then see how that goes, and we can always revisit. This is what I tell my other board when they do this. Is
I
not
just
me.
think we should leave it at 10, but.
I do too.
Think 10, Hope,
I think 10 gives us some leeway if we wind up without a quorum 1 month. We go down to 9 and then we don't have a quorum 1 month. That
Yeah,
worries
good-
me. But,
good point.
and I think where we ran into trouble last year and the year before that actually is with our visiting
Yeah,
meetings
Yeah.
were the ones that we often wound up without a quorum. So if we're
You're
not
right.
doing that this year, I don't know. I mean, that's,
Connie,
I just don't know what so we didn't have a meeting in February, correct?
right,
So would that count as one of the ones we didn't have? So then be at 10 now with March.
we'd be at 9, we'd be at 9 anyway for this year.
that's a good point.
It is, okay, then the other thing is, do we leave it the way it is and try to get our board full? And then we may not have the trouble with quorums.
I think that's a good idea. Focus on everybody seeing if they can think of people to fill our slot, maybe get our board filled, and then we won't struggle so much meeting a quorum.
Good point.
We still wanna talk about not doing visitation though.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's do this first. So let's leave it this year with the 10. And work on trying to get our trustees full. And then probably, because I think that's part of the issue, because we have to have 8. It has nothing to do with whether the fact that we have
Only 10 to
only
make it.
10 that are on, that trustees that are here. So that's part of the problem. So I think if we all work hard and I'll send out all the information. I just need people to send me names of people. Okay, yes, go ahead, Mary.
Can I think, okay, a couple of things. Now, on the quorum issue, when I attended the meeting that Steve led, there was a question as to whether the quorum has how many people are actually serving, or is a quorum for how many people we say we need. And we have a range, and what does a quorum consist of is A, and B, I can't always get, I can always get to this set, when I'm at a satellite building, which is the Saranac Lake Free Library, I am counted as in attendance. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I, okay, okay, so all I have to do is say that I can't make it there, I'm gonna be here, but I'm not at my home, I'm not looking in, some other.
You don't count if you are not at, you're not here or at one of the satellite approved.
Okay, but at the satellite, it's as though I'm there, I count for part of the
Yes,
quorum.
yes, you are part of the quorum when you are on that, with that.
I'm in with the in crowd. Just-
Is that the
But now
state?
what does consist of a quorum? That's the other question, Steve.
It's an
Right.
open meeting
State
law.
defines a quorum, and they defined it as a majority of seats.
Right,
So we have 15 seats, a
Okay.
quorum is 8.
right, right.
And
Okay,
it's-
so,
We've only got 10 appointed.
right.
And the quorum is still 8. Because it includes all the seats.
okay, that's,
And Zoom has to be from a satellite location that is open to the public.
And approved.
And
Is that a state law or?
Yes.
On all boards?
That big,
open
that came
library.
about during COVID because of.
Right, they
COVID.
changed things with
Yes.
COVID.
right, with COVID, we could visit or attend from our homes, actually, is what
And then
happened.
there was a certain date that ended.
Correct, right,
We are
which is
now
fine.
back to the open meetings law.
So is it just the library or is it
It's
state?
Any public meetings that are subject to the open meeting law.
So when you're in Florida, you don't count, is that what you're saying?
If I happen to attend, no, unless there were 8,
Yeah.
unless there were
Right, don't
8
count
other
as part of the
people, I would not count as that, because I could go to the library there, but I don't know if they'd approve it. I suppose I could say I'm at a library, but yeah, no, I wouldn't count.
And the same thing when I zoomed.
Yeah,
in.
you zoomed in last week, last meeting that we had that issue.
And
Okay,
our 3 satellite offices are Saranac Lake, Malone, and,
the office here.
And here, headquarters.
okay. Would
There's
it be
only-
helpful for obtaining a quorum if we could see geographically, if there was maybe one other?
We used to have one, where was the other one, Michael?
Like,
Scroon Lake, we used to have one in Scroon Lake. Because
Huh.
we had a lady from there that was on most of the time from that
Mhm.
side area.
It's very helpful, I mean, for
Yes, it
attending,
is.
I must say.
Lonnie, one,
Well, I'd like to suggest that all board meetings where we want a quorum should be scheduled in the regular way at, with all satellite sites operating. And that these will be our board, at least for this year. We have only the rest of the year to go. And that we look at the issue, this has also been on the agenda for a while, of how to accomplish what we want to accomplish by visiting the other libraries, but that we not, for this year, mix the two. Now, that doesn't mean we'll have no contact with the other libraries, but that be a separate issue. That way, if it turns out that there is a good reason for not holding a meeting, then, we could safely cancel it. But I'd like to revisit, though, the whole idea of scheduling at early in the fall as we're looking at next year, so that we're not trying to do all this at the last minute and trying to figure out how to.
so probably our November meeting should be when we
Well, if we
talk
don't
about
have a
what we're going
December
to do
meeting,
for
maybe
the
it
following
should
year.
be earlier.
But October, November is a good
October,
time.
November would be good, I think, so. And okay, so we'll keep the status quo. Okay, so that's decided. Okay, now, as far as visitations go. Not only did we not have quorum, 2 of the 3 visitations, or was it all 3 that we weren't able?
We went to more.
Moore's, we were able to have a meeting, no.
No,
We went to, I don't think we had meetings, and I agree with Lonnie in that. Sometimes putting those meetings with the visitations, I think it has caused a problem because people weren't going to that. But we didn't, so I mean, it isn't working. But I think that I don't wanna exclude visitations, maybe for this year. maybe we can just not, and then really give ourselves time to think about how we can incorporate visits to these other
Well, with
libraries.
a full board, that might be more doable too.
Yes,
So I remember
yes.
last year being like, I remember we talked about this, so we talked about changing the times, cause there's
Right.
no way you can make it to a place an hour and a half away
Right,
after a workday.
right, exactly. So,
We have sometimes tried to, if the issue was everyone being able to get to a visitation, revert to, Plattsburgh. I think we've tried that, haven't we, Steve? Like, if everybody said, no, I can't, I'm not gonna be able to get from there to there, but I can get to Plattsburgh. I think we tried that, maybe?
What, I remember that one.
I don't
Okay.
remember that, but, I mean, by the time we canceled all of this,
Yeah.
we didn't have that on the
It's
other.
not always easy to,
So are we kind of in agreement that this year, we probably let's try to get ourselves back on and step and then talk maybe in one of our July or August meetings, talk about what we're going to do the following year about visitations to libraries?
okay, so you're saying no visitations this year?
Not
Or-
connected to meetings.
Not
Not connected to meetings. I mess it, we can talk about it later in the, just not have a meeting for our visitations, because that's where we get into a problem. We could have just 7 people visit one of these libraries, but we can't have a meeting.
I
When,
was just wondering if that will motivate people to do it, though.
to do what?
To do the visitation if they know there's no meeting,
See, I would love to,
will
I
they?
have no problem
would
with that
go.
because I love going to these libraries. I really do.
I mean, I
think it's
do
more
too.
value listening to them talk
Right.
to us instead of us having a meeting. It seems like they're kind of zoning out when we were doing our.
Because in some of them, if we had a purpose, like, could you tell us about your history of your library? Could you tell us, rather
Well, we
than
have
us?
had some people do
Right.
it.
Right, but they haven't done it as much lately because we
Not
go
as
in there with our,
extensively
with
as
our
a couple
meetings.
people, but.
We go in there with our meetings and then we kind of take over the place.
Yeah.
We could even try coordinating with the events they may be hosting.
Right, good idea. Good
Yeah,
idea.
that is
Go
a
ahead,
good
Donna.
idea.
Yeah, I felt this for a while. When we go to meetings with the, the staff and we take it all over, we arrive just before the meeting
You're right.
and we leave immediately afterwards. And I don't think it establishes much for contact. I think maybe we should discuss this with the SEFTA people and see what their views are, and they could also perhaps share the issues with their boards and see what kinds of contact they would welcome with us. It's not just to make us feel, oh, we've seen them, it's to
Right,
see,
to listen to them.
to listen to them, and that could be perhaps some valued
More
board
valuable, like.
activity that perhaps people could participate in at least one of those a year as a board obligation in whatever way is possible. It might have to be partly Zoom, partly in person, all of this. So I suggest that
Okay, can I?
somebody takes a look.
Okay, so let's, Brenda, can we maybe put on the next agenda? A discussion about visitations. That do not include meetings, that include, that visitations to the libraries. And we'll have all of our meetings here, but then visit libraries, in the consortium and see what happens with that. So, but let's put that on the agenda for next month. Is that okay with everybody to do it that way? Yeah, because I think it's so valuable to stay, but you're right, we go in there, we kind of take over the place and we don't really listen to anything they have to say. And we have had people do presentations, but I think they know we're having a meeting. So they kind of don't want to take too much time up with that. And I know your poor mother, she had to come in when we visited there on her day off. I mean.
And we
Somebody
could
made
do-
us,
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, we could do it on their convenience too. I mean, we could say, what is a good time for you and what, do you have something you could present or want to present and what would be work for you? Rather than us saying, this is when we're coming.
What events do you have coming up that you would like us to, to visit on? Hope, were you saying something also, or?
no, I was just gonna say, one of the librarians made us cookies that were really yummy.
I think it was your mother.
Who was that? We'll see her again.
I'm ready to go back to that library.
Well, that one library, they had like a.
Oh,
whole
God,
table
yeah,
of-
that was
of
a couple of
goodies
years
and
ago.
fruit, and
Yeah, they did.
Can't
That
remember
one
where
was
that
nice.
was. Peru, maybe?
A lot of people have done that, put out a lot
I
of
think
food
it's-
trucks and
I can't remember, but yeah,
Yeah, it's one of them.
it's one of them. Yeah, I remember when they had food out, and food always makes you feel good. Okay, so good on board meeting changes. We've got this year kind of decided, but Brenda will put that on the agenda to discuss visitation.
So is moving the time back at all on the,
We
on the
can talk
table.
about that right now because time is on here. What do you mean about moving time back?
I personally, for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, 5 would work better for me than for just
How about
because
you
it gives me
people
that.
working? That's the only thing. And you're right. I mean, there are a certain amount of us.
I mean, I
that
can
now are
do-
working.
I can do it.
But I
just-
think, oh, sorry. I
But-
think
you prefer
Go
to
ahead.
like that site.
I prefer to come in person. I find that I can, you know,
Right.
as
No,
I
I
see
like- I do
people
too.
reacting.
Yeah.
But obviously it is an option, so if it's something that's not on the table, that's okay too, but.
Hope, what were you gonna say?
I was just wondering if we move it back though, does that make people like Brenda and Steve and Michael have to wait around for the meeting to start after their workday?
We've done worse.
You can adjust your time.
You're gonna press you on what word it is.
How do you feel? I mean, how do you feel about changing the time of the start?
I point out that, according to the quorum rules, it's not absolutely necessary for all the staff to be on site at the meeting. They could possibly, they are allowed to zoom in if they want to, because they're not part of the quorum.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not giving
And in
them that
fact-
option.
I don't really want to do it any later, but that's just,
Okay, that's fine.
So
Yeah, and that's fine.
have a meeting.
You're not walking out right now.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna tell me.
Well,
I'm
there you
leaving
go.
right now. Okay, so what are your feelings? I'm just here to.
Well, and now I'm gonna contradict my own, put it out there, but the only other thought I have is that depending on the time that our satellite spots are open, like the Lead Library is only open till 6.
Exactly, because they
So-
picked us out.
Right, and I know that usually, and Hope and I talked about this earlier, they're usually very accommodating, but if there's nobody staying, there's nobody staying,
Right,
so
right, so.
I'm contradicting.
Okay, I'm just open to what people want to do.
I'll go
I
with
mean-
anything, as I'm retired and I don't really care what time we meet.
Me too, that's kind of where I am. Hope,
I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm busy right up until 4:15, but when I think about winter months and stuff, I'd rather do it early, be home early, get
Right.
it done.
okay, so is the feeling that we keep it for 4:30 for now? Okay, okay. Okay, the next on the agenda, I think we should discuss time, dates, etc. So I think we're done with A. B, board agenda modifications, streamlining agenda. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't think we can streamline it much. It gets full when we've got a couple of months' business saved up. But there's really not much fat on this.
No, and if you think about it, I mean, I told my husband, he's sitting out there in the truck, told my husband, I said, this one could possibly take us longer because we haven't met since January. And I said, but normally we're out of here
In an hour.
in an hour. So I mean, and all of this stuff, it doesn't have to take very long.
I don't think that the time of the agenda, and maybe I'm wrong, but like the packet, last time some people talked about the packet itself versus what we actually talk about.
Okay.
I think the packet is fine as it is. We want, like somebody said, we'll take out don't do the reports. That's all vital information as a library
trustee.
person, as a trustee, we need to know that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and you can choose whether you're gonna print it out or not print it out or look at it or not.
That's why I brought my computer this time.
Right.
I mean, it was 73 pages. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna print that.
Right,
But I've got my computer that I can look at it if I need to,
right.
you know, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think. I'm not.
I agree 100%, yeah.
I'm really not supposed to give my opinion. Okay, shut me up. Okay,
I think the packet is well done.
I do
I mean,
too.
there's, like these common acronyms, you know, we could have that printed once. And we are responsible for bringing it with us if we feel we need it. I don't think that needs to be printed every time. We could save on that maybe.
But it could be in the packet.
But, well, I think if you put it in your book bag or whatever you bring, and because if you need it, but I don't think that needs to be in here, and I think that was kind of what Kip's point was, maybe there are some things that we could take out of here to save some paper. Well, of course.
Don't need
I
to print it every time.
but-
That's my thing, is that I think then it comes down to a point of who are we printing it out for and who are we not printing? Like, I don't need a copy printed for me. If I want, I'll print out what I want to read.
And I think that's what we said when Kip brought this up.
Right.
was, you know, it's there. In my mind, opinion, just, sorry. In my mind, I like knowing all this stuff. It's there for me to see
Yeah, I
as
like
a
the
trustee. And I don't think there's, but I don't have to print it all every time. And I look through it on my computer and I do that, and then I'll bring my computer to look at it if we're referring to
Mhm.
it. But I think things are running pretty smoothly.
Unless it's a hardship for the people who are doing the reporting, like Anya and, who else am I thinking about here?
But wouldn't they have to do the report anyway, whether we included it or not? Don't they report to us? Are you saying
What?
that they wouldn't even do the report, or?
Are they required to do a monthly report anyway, or is
They have
it
to send
one
5
that
things they do a
is
week.
supposed to be for the board of trustees? I'm sorry, Gail. I
I
didn't-
said they have to do 5, they have to write down 5 things they do each week.
Okay.
Oh, God.
They, those reports anyway, or those reports specifically for the board of trustees?
They are for the board.
Right.
And,
I think it's smooth.
you know, it
Agree.
is a way that you can see what's happening in the system.
Because we aren't here all the
And,
time.
I think they're important for you to have. We don't really discuss them
No.
unless somebody has a question or a
Right.
concern, or something that they
Right.
look through them. But it's nice to have that information.
Or compliments.
See
or
where-
whatever.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got department heads that'd probably bless you if you said we don't need reports. But I think it's good for them also, because they have to delineate things that they've done.
Right, it's a
And-
good way for them to keep track of
Right.
their accomplishments too.
And actually, when we do our annual report, they go back and count them off the minutes from the board packets.
So do we think we need? Go ahead, did you have your hand up?
No, I'm just.
Lonnie?
Yeah, I'd just like to make one little suggestion, which I didn't even think was a board meeting idea when it came up before. I think we'd like to have all that information. And this might be a very quick suggestion with perhaps a little help for Brenda. So the packet itself is easier for individuals to handle, in that maybe it's just, I think part of it is just the presentation. So it might be better to have the board packet, a cluster of little packets. One can read them, one can decide which ones one needs to bring to the meeting, which which pieces one wants just to bring up. And then it might be easier for some people to load onto whatever device they want to bring to the meeting, the pieces that they want. I don't think it's a controversial issue. It just would cost Brenda a little time, once or twice, to figure out how to get it done, and probably she could get the tech support
Mhm.
to do it, and that way it'll be in similar formats and easier.
But I think that's gonna be more work, Lonnie, to be honest with you, because I mean, you've got this all set up pretty well, how you do this. I mean, deciding what someone wants, what someone else doesn't want, I think we can decide that. You know, whether we want to look at it, I think it's gonna be more work for you trying to decide what is important and what is not.
Right, be consistent for your sake, so you don't
Yeah.
have to.
Well,
Go ahead, Mary?
Okay, I just wanted to say that I do love how this is, and I love that the pages are numbered, and the only thing I would have suggested is, like, when you say, okay, we're gonna go to the financial part, report, that's on page starts page 26. And I mean, I can do that. I've made jotted down notes as when it reports so that when it's on my computer, I can just say, okay, I can just put in 26 and then it goes to that. And that's helpful rather than me having to, you know, scroll through everything. But it is all numbered there, and that's no reason I can't go through before the meeting and say, okay, text services, page 13, outreach is 33, over under the finances on 42. And that helps me not to have to scroll every time.
So is the consensus, we kind of leave things the way they are?
I think it's been every.
I think it's been very helpful the way it is.
How many times we talked about this? And it's like, okay, when things aren't broken,
Yeah.
fix them. I mean, I've been on for 8-9 years now, and this is probably one of the most organized groups I've seen. So, I mean, I go with that.
Okay, can I make one little comment that I find the materials that come in different formats particularly difficult, because if you get a DocX document that has to go into with your materials for the meeting, then it's got to be transformed for the fonts that are different and all of this. So it would help me the most if all the board materials were formatted in the same.
Isn't it usually PDF?
I know.
Well,
I know that I'm still getting a few things. We talked about this quite a while ago. I have an iMac and I'm still, and it's an old one, I know. But I'm still getting a few things where it looks like Russian language, you know, because I don't have that font on my computer. So I don't know if we can go to a more standard, don't do anything fancy on
You
this
get
stuff.
PDFs, well,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I thought,
Yeah,
mine's in
this is a
PDF
PDF.
expert right now, the one that I just called up.
And for me to take the time to convert it,
I don't think it's converted.
my computer is just, I've forgotten how to do it because it's just hard to do
Yeah,
it.
but see, I'm on
I should
PDF
just-
it depends
expert
on your
right now,
PDF.
and they're all there in accurate. Once in a while I get this thing, the fonts are missing, and I just ignore it. I mean, because really it's not, there's nothing gone, but I've just downloaded this and it's PDF expert.
It's more like headings that I get that are in a font that I don't have, so I don't know what the headings are saying. But usually the content of what I get is on my computer is okay, I can read it. Because it's usually a pretty standard font.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'll go out, check out your computer, see what we got wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody should be able to find, there's PDF readers or something.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
really
that-
simple that,
Yeah,
as long as you have something that reads PDF, because it's almost like taking a picture.
yeah,
Like it shouldn't need to have the proper font,
it
it
does.
appears
Right.
as it
should,
is,
yeah.
like that's,
Yeah,
what the-
yeah,
that's what a
so-
PDF does. but-
Right.
They still have to rotate the
Post
pages.
document format.
I didn't even know that's what that was. I didn't know.
Oh, you
that's
didn't know what it meant? Post
what-
document
I know
format.
something.
Okay, so are we done with that? We're going with
Yeah.
status
So,
quo?
yeah.
Okay, we're all good. Weed library variance, review and approve.
Yeah.
we approved one before, the state rejected it.
Oh, yes.
They rewrote it. It was sent to DLD. They said it matched their requirements. But it just needs our approval.
Can I have a motion to approve? Oh,
Right.
Can I make a comment first or do you?
no.
And I promise this is the last thing I'll talk about. I won't. I was the director at the big library a few years ago. Since our library director left, that was me. And I don't know if this is even an issue or not, but they are not going to function with a new director. And I don't know. They've never advertised for a director since I left, not once. They promoted their library clerk, their top person.
All I do is close the door.
To basically a director position, they're paying her a lot more money. And anybody who applies for this position is going to have to fight. They're not gonna make as much as the premier library clerk. I have a huge issue with them getting through all of this time, it's been 5 years. Getting through all this time without doing it their way through the back door. And I have grave concerns, and I don't know what our role is, so it probably doesn't even matter what my concerns are, and I will accept that. But I guess I don't know even what I'm saying, that
No, I think the concern is that it doesn't seem like they've done a good faith effort to hire a director, and then they're saying, oh, we can't
Yes.
find someone. And then we're gonna say, oh, okay, you couldn't find someone, you told us you couldn't. Like,
Right.
I don't know, like-
And I guess you're, yes, thank you for the guidance. Like, I'm afraid they're gonna use this as, because it's Malone, it's the back of
Mhm.
Beyond, there's nobody on the list. And I know originally they said there were 3 people on the list, including myself. It was personnel issues. When I went there as the director, I knew Sue Wool quite well. I replaced her. They hadn't had a new person, administrator, for over 60 years. Mr. Minnick had been there for 57 years. And then Sue Wool, who had already been there for 25 years, took over. So everybody was one big happy family, like, Sarah at Plattsburgh Republic becoming the assistant, that's gonna be great, because they work well together. A stranger, a complete stranger coming in is not gonna be good, and they're not pushing it. And I don't know if that's our role to push or not,
One of the
but
reasons for the variance is to force them to create a situation where they address this. And we can't control their internal personnel issues.
right,
But they need to have a director. That's one of the standards of minimum standards. And before, the one that was rejected kind of gave them that out of, if we can't hire one, well, we'll just continue the way we are. This one doesn't. It says we will hire a director. If there are fireworks after that,
What's
Well,
the timeline,
gotcha.
that if they don't hire one, but, and yeah, what's the consequence?
they mentioned in this that they will hire by the end of the year.
Okay,
The consequence is that they lose funding. They will lose their charter,
And they lose what?
The charter.
their charter. And they.
I'm sorry, I didn't
essentially-
put my hearing aids, I left them at home when I went downstate.
Anyway, the consequences are pretty grave. Okay, at this point, because they have strung us along for 3 or 4 years. And, so the state is very aware, the state has met with members of their board. They are aware that this is a serious situation
Okay.
and that they need to correct it.
That makes me feel better, because that was. It didn't have to be me, but that was their, this situation that they have, they made the primary clerk, basically the director, they made the person who was a librarian 1 at the time. And actually the state went in and said, she's doing the job of a librarian 2, at least, they made them promote her. They gave one person a raise and not the other person, and it's not gonna be great when a new director comes in, but as it is, this is what they wanted, was these dual roles. So, but as long as the state is aware and I know we don't have control over it, that is not, I did read that, and how the system board works compared, we're not controlling them individually, but that was a big concern, so.
See, when you say state are you saying
The
New York
state
State
library.
government or New York State Library?
State library, the
State library
Department
system,
of
okay,
Library Development.
okay.
Are there specific qualifications for the position of library director
Yes,
That
there
is-
is.
that
It
the
is
current person in charge doesn't have?
yes.
It
Yes,
is,
okay.
A library
a
degree,
civil,
first of
civil
all.
service position,
Mhm.
so the description is out there. They have to have so many years' experience, they have to be licensed, they have to have
Okay,
their
that-
certificate.
yeah.
Things like that. And right now, they have no one on staff that could do that, that meets those qualifications. they were trying to run it, as Bridget said, kind of as a three-person, three-headed organization. With one person doing the librarian, professional librarian bits, and one doing the administrative bits. And the third one was just there because she was part of the machine. So anyway, this variance, like I said, it has gone to the state already, and they have said it will be approvable.
Could I have then a motion to accept the, for the Weed Library variance?
So move. This is a standard organizational problem with organizations that are afraid to bring in people that are more with stronger qualifications than themselves.
Okay, a second?
Is the state saying that we're gonna come back to you at a certain time and see what progress you've made, or
Yes.
is that kind of thing?
They
going
will
on?
monitor this. They also had, with this year's annual report, had to be deficient in the same thing.
And
So they will have to file a variance again toward the end of this year if they haven't resolved it. And that will be a much stricter requirement of them getting this done. And we'll have probably a deadline and a consequence named in it.
Lonnie made the motion, Connie seconded it. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay? That is your right.
Do they have to, very quick, do they have to keep track of their efforts at recruitment?
Yes, they will have to be able to show those things to the state.
Okay,
They're, just on the last paragraph, it says that they have Franklin County has the draft and they need to approve it, and we anticipate the timeline is probably gonna be 60 days following the opening of the position. Regionally, blah, 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 to conduct interviews by June, and if we receive enough qualified candidates, it's our hope to have a new director by the end of the year. That's their number 4 on their
Okay, well, this
application.
seems like a hope and prayer.
yeah,
But they do know that if they don't fill it, the next variance is going to be much harder for them to meet.
To be approved.
Yeah.
Or not approved.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I point out one other thing? There's a standard way to ensure that you don't get a good candidate, and that is not to offer an adequate salary.
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Salary offering, I know it.
Yeah,
I saw it once, but I couldn't remember where it is. It is in line with other rural
yeah, just wanted to be
libraries,
sure
but
that.
yeah.
Well, we've got, I think that it looks like it's in the state's hands. We'll just keep a move on it and see what's going on, and we can kind of keep an up on that. Like you say, the internal stuff, we can approve this and then hopefully the state will keep their end of the bargain. Okay, new business, purchasing policy review and approve.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, I'll second it.
Let's get this moving.
It seems good to me.
The changes that
This is a stamp.
we're asking on the purchasing policy is the little box that says at what levels different discretions are needed. They were increased a little bit. So as not to bother the board overly. But they are within state guidelines. They do have a general purchasing policy. Really, their one is at $20,000 and up has to be. Then it's subject to a purchasing law.
But this is nothing other than standards.
Right, and the other thing, we added the green purchasing. paragraph to help us with our sustainable library.
Good job. Okay. Could I have someone to make a motion to accept the purchasing policy review?
I'll make that motion, Mary.
Mary, okay, and Bridget seconded? Is that okay? Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstained. Motion carries. Alcohol and drug policy.
This was revised because of tobacco and cannabis.
right, I forgot
We're a
about that.
tobacco and cannabis-free workplace. So specific references were made to those two drugs.
You mean I can't bring mine in?
No, no, leave it at the door. 50 feet from the door.
Okay, so this again is basically just a rubber stamp. Could I have someone make a motion to accept the alcohol and drug policy?
so moved.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
okay, well, we have. I have,
Whatever.
I'm having a secret.
Second, third, it's.
Yeah. Okay, I had a senior moment and missed your name there for a minute, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Vote. Abstention. Okay, bank resolution and approval. Check signs, that's what we gotta stay after and sign, right, honey bun?
Yep.
Okay, so that's here, and we just need all of us that are officers to stay behind and sign these.
And standard as other years.
Yeah, it's the same, it's just the same. We don't need a motion for that, we just, do we? Okay, could I have a motion for the individual, the bank resolution and approval?
I'll move, Mary.
Mary,
I'll second.
Bridget, second.
I'm on a roll.
Okay, yeah, okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Individual entities. Okay. This is again, just a standard rubber stamp thing we have to do every year.
Do it every year.
Yeah, could I have a motion to accept this?
so moved.
Okay,
Second,
second? Mary, did you second? Okay.
I
I
will. I do. Now
I-
we're married.
Okay,
Great.
put Hope's name in there, she hasn't been in there yet.
Now,
Yeah,
What about
Ben
the-
Publications, who does, is that the Sun?
what's that do?
Official newspapers, is that the Sun, Benton Publications?
Michael, do you know that?
Then, oh, yes.
Okay,
that is-
just making sure, cause I'm not, saw that the Lake Champlain Weekly's not going to do it anymore, so. I'm sure that was-
Okay, if no more discussion of the questions, all in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motion carried. Okay, conflict of interest statement. And we each have to sign this, too, don't we, Michael? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this needs a motion.
No.
Okay. It's
It
just
just
that we-
needs
okay.
everybody's signature and,
Okay, can we just sign the one that's here
yep.
and give it back to you? Okay.
Can we mail that in, sign it, print it, sign it and send it in the mail?
Yes,
Today, the 28th, right? Here's my. Oh, I don't know, can we sign the same one?
all of, no.
No.
Person.
Well, but she could put hers under mine.
If he
okay.
needs one, here's one.
Here's some
There's
extra.
this board packet that I'm just using on loans, right, whip it out and sign it.
Yep, done. Done.
Anyone else need one?
I've got some
Yeah,
extra.
action.
Okay,
Second one.
what am I missing? Okay, that's something
Whip it
else.
out, forget.
CFLS annual report,
We had hoped to have it ready, but it's not,
okay,
so it will just finishing up the final details on it.
okay, next, so that'll go on. Okay, the lawn quotes,
That's me.
so who did we have last year?
It was BM Specialty Waterworks,
Were we happy with them?
yes.
Okay.
And they also do the snow and ice removal. They're really easy to work with and they did a great job last year. That was the first time they did that for the lawn. So I was pleased.
What are
If
your
that
thoughts
helps,
on
right?
it?
I think they did a pretty good job.
Okay, so. So could someone make a motion to go with BM specialty?
I can.
Okay,
I'll second.
Okay, wait. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, we've done that part. Okay, executive session, we have to go to executive session for.
I don't know if you need to.
No, because we
It-
just have to approve the.
The
Contract.
contract, which I haven't gotten the contract yet, he said he did.
Oh, okay.
But I
Can I
can.
go up just that other door?
Just explain, but.
It
what
went very
happened.
well. We expected that it was going to go on longer than it did, and we're like, they came back and said, we accept everything but this. This was the approval, this was the proposal.
Live in
What
those
you
years.
have here is a summary of their asks, which are the bold headings. And our response, what we how we responded to their asks. They, like Gail said, they went out, talked for about 10 minutes and came back in and said, we accept everything, but we'd like to accept the floating holidays and personal days. They'd like one extra holiday, one extra personal day,
Floating holiday.
floating holiday, which we decided we don't wanna keep track of another category.
Why would they not just make it an extra?
I did.
So that's what we did. We offered them,
Sorry.
we
They have
offered them,
three now,
no, they have two now.
two now, and
And
we
the
went
additional will be four.
four.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it-
Um,
Excuse me, I'm being chased out of the library like in 5 minutes, just to let you know.
I don't think we can vote on this right now, Nate, because we don't have the proposal in front of us, Mary.
Okay,
He's supposed to be typing this up. We'll probably have to wait till next. This is just
Yeah.
what we
Agreed to.
agreed to. But we
Okay.
don't final.
so those of us that aren't there, will we get a copy of that, or we'll just get a copy of the final, or it doesn't matter much, you know, trust you.
We'll send out a copy of the final as we get it.
Okay,
They accepted the pay. As I said, the only, they wanted that floating holiday, which we all agreed was just going to be a nightmare. Because somebody could say, oh, wait a minute, it's my great aunt so-and-so's,
Mhm. Yeah.
birthday. You know, whatever, and it's a holiday to me. I mean, I grant that's not true, but you know what? Talk about that. So we decided as a group to give them 4 personal days, which was an increase, instead of the floating holiday, add
Right.
add one more personal day.
right.
right.
And they agreed very readily to that.
Yeah, they didn't have to go out to discuss it.
No, that was just a quick thing, so.
So, this addresses the union employees. I would hope that the board would discuss management confidential salaries for the
Did yours
current
run out,
year.
did yours run out the 31st of December also?
Yeah,
Yes, okay. I'm glad you're mentioning that. Could we have, that great thing I worked on for all that time? Could you fill that out, my dear?
yep,
Okay, between now and next meeting?
yeah.
Okay,
Like evaluations. and all that?
yeah, the evaluation that we were from, like, remember?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Okay, so if you have that, then we'll discuss that.
Okay,
So put on probably next meeting, put on time for executive session to discuss personnel issues. Okay. We don't have to return to regular session because we never left. Anyone?
Congratulations on getting this done, so
Yeah, it went pretty well. We were kind of surprised.
I think all the benefits should also go to the management.
Yeah.
Confidential in the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, because we appreciate you. That doesn't mean we'll show you in money, but.
yeah, no,
That's a different item.
Okay, if nothing else, then could I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.